welcome to Words with Dani. I'm Emily Moyer from Off Planet Radio. Dani Katz from DaniKatz.com is with me. And it's been several weeks since we've done a show. We were on a really good roll for a while, and we both just kind of hit this wall where we're like, well, we don't actually care about anything going on in the world anymore, so now what do we do about a show? But we decided we want to catch up and sort of explore where each other is at and just have a casual conversation right now and very laid back. I'm tired and have no makeup on, so. But we just started talking and it got interesting, so let's just push the button and the casual conversation will most likely be the show. And we're just going to kind of talk about sort of what's going on, where we're at. We'd love to hear back from you if you guys are in a similar place or someplace totally different and what you're thinking about. So, Dani Katz, welcome back. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Emily. So do you want to lead us into where we were just going? Because that's like similar to you, like no interest in what's going on any level, that the Matrix has lost the entirety of its traction. But this that you opened up is actually the only thing I've been thinking about.
Yeah, so pretty much like whatever has gone on in the last several weeks since our last show, which is probably 5 or 6 weeks ago now, maybe more than that. I just, like, when I say I don't care about anything, I don't mean I don't care about like the people that I love or some of the things I do on a daily basis, but like I have just 100% lost interest in tracking any of the Matrix stuff. I hate YouTube. Everyone already knows I can't stand Facebook, you know what I mean, or anything like that. Like I just, I'm getting to this like weird point where there's no longer any line between reality and fantasy. You know what I mean? Everything is blurred to the point where like, the Matrix is like the Matrix movie is, I mean, we know this on a certain level, but it has been our reality for a long time. But now it's like, it's showing itself to me in ways that it's like, oh, well, if I just stop doing anything, will the world just stop? And I don't mean that in an egotistical kind of way, like I'm the most important. I mean, that could possibly be for any one of us, or at least any one of us who have gotten themselves to the level of sort of awareness and have done a certain level of introspection and work on themselves, that like, are we just completely generating this with our own thoughts and energy? And if we stop doing that, what happens?
Yeah, so 100% we are generating this with our thoughts and our attention, and we know that. And so I've been in a similar conversation with myself, because I do care about my friends and I do care about the things that I care about, and I don't care about anything Matrix related at all anymore. I don't care about the IDW. I don't care about the videos. There's none of it. And then I test myself, and like I see the old polls of like little conversations that I would be drawn into, and I just follow them a few steps down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, I don't care about talking about the Matrix. I don't care about talking about how we can adjust the Matrix. Like that construct is dead to me. And so when you said like, well, what would happen if we just pull our attention away? Will it collapse and die? My thing is like, who gives a fuck? Because we just get to create something new. Like, I don't even care what happens, but I do know that it is our attention that's sustaining it, and trying to convince the masses to shift their attention has not worked and isn't gratifying. And at this point I'm not interested in that.
It's boring. It's boring.
It's so boring. So the only thing that's interesting to me is like, well, what's the new, where's the new, like, so I'm on the same page of you as far as pulling attention. I'm just less interested in like how that will affect the construct that I don't give a shit about anymore, and more about like, let's make something rad.
Oh, I don't care in terms of like, I don't actually care what happens. I just wonder, for the same reason you do. Well, if I don't pay attention to that and it collapses, does that mean that whatever I do pay attention to happens? So it is for the same reason.
Yeah.
The only reason I care about what happens is because, oh, if I can collapse one with my lack of attention, can I inflate one or create one with my
of course. And so I've been thinking about, like, what does that look like? What does that even mean? Because I know that there are people like Guru Jagat. Do you know who she is? She's a Kundalini teacher. She's pretty rad. And then Shaman Durek, who I'm working with right now, like they have this paradigm of make the Matrix work for you, and like make a lot of money and have a lot of influence and have a lot of impact. So I've been like toying with that, because I think I've been playing with that idea for a while, but it just feels like there are too many compromises necessary to continue to be in the structure, that it sounds like we're both at the point of like, I can't play any of the games.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, what does it look like to secede from the matrix? Like, is there a temporary autonomous zone on the planet? Like, is anyone doing that you've heard of?
Well, this is like, and I actually just talked about this a little bit on a show with Randy recently, but I'm going to bring it up again here for the sake of the conversation, right? And my friend Mia once had a dream about me living in a different reality, that she had to go through an intergalactic coffee shop to be able to figure out where I was and go and visit me, but that I would basically, that's where I lived. It was a very different, serene, peaceful, sort of natural but futuristic kind of place, right? Mm-hmm. And that then I would return to this matrix, but in order to return to the matrix, I had to do something to sort of lower my vibration to come in here, and I'd come in here to do work, get it done, and then go back. So I think that, like, maybe that's sort of what we're talking about here in terms of, like, I do like the idea of playing with the matrix and being able to have an impact here and make money here and whatever, but not for the sake necessarily of fixing this, but only for funding the new thing. When I say funding, when I say funding, I'm not even talking about money, because I only see money as currency or energy for a flow somewhere else.
Like fueling.
For fueling that. So, like, I do like that idea of, like, sort of, okay, maybe this is gonna, did you ever watch Fringe?
No.
Okay, so in the last season of Fringe, they go into this pocket universe where everything is kind of weird and upside down and whatever. That's not the point of it. But there's a pocket universe that you can sort of enter through this, like, dilapidated apartment building by sort of stepping in this weird geometrical pattern, and then you're in this other world. So I kind of see it as, like, okay, we need to create one of these pocket universes that is out of the sort of visual perceptive field of, like, all the people who are in the matrix and not aware of it.
Yes.
Start hiding our good stuff there, or putting our energy into our good stuff there.
Yes.
And you know, kind of different than the people who are, like, doing naughty breakaway civilization and naughty secret space program kind of stuff. Do it where we're actually leaving good work behind here with the things we're doing to make money, so that people can follow when they've evolved to the point that they're ready to go with us, or when they want to. But basically work on sort of collapsing. When I say collapsing, I don't mean to the destruction of anyone else, just as it exists for us, because they're welcome to hold it open with their own consciousness, but begin to slowly, like, let the air out of that balloon and put it into the other balloon. But for now, we have to sort of still go back and forth, and, you know, over time, sort of reduce the amount of time we spend here, increase the amount of time we spend there.
Well, hold up, because I don't want to sign on to these. I'm so many yeses, but I don't want to sign on to slowly, or, like, it can be any time construct we choose it to be. So I want to jump in on that. And I also think the function is to model this for other, you know, once other people do leave, what we are creating again, because similar to you, you know, like, that whole trajectory was just so resonant. And as far as leaving the decision to make the matrix work for me, my position on it now is, like, well, that would entail me setting up, like, nesting my home in the matrix, and that's now become a deal breaker. Like, this other dimension that we're talking about, I'm choosing that in this third dimensional reality now. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Versus, like, needing to take a portal to a different dimensional reality. Mm-hmm. Are we on the same page?
Well, so the pocket universe was right here. Like, it was someplace really far away.
Right.
Right. So, like, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Right. But, like, I do, you know, so yeah, the pocket universe wasn't, like, millions of miles away. It wasn't like a breakaway civilization living on another planet. It wasn't.
Got it.
It was literally in a dilapidated apartment building in Boston. Right?
Okay.
So, but most people who went into the apartment building couldn't see it because they didn't sort of understand how to get into it. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, I don't actually believe time exists. So when I say, like, slowly, I'm not actually talking about in, like, quantitative time. I'm talking about, like, we're not trying to create destruction here in order to catalyze whatever we're creating.
Destruction isn't even in my paradigm. Like, I don't have a beef with the Matrix.
Neither.
I have nothing for it. So whether it destroys or transmutes or transforms or evolves, like, God's Matrix, awesome. I'm out.
I think the Matrix will always exist to the extent that the person observing it needs it to exist.
Right.
Right. And so,
right. And I'm ready to be coexisting with people consistently, you know, surrounded by those of us who've pulled our attention out of that and are free.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. Like, I'm wanting to spend less and less time on the technology. I would rather be in a close location where the people that I want to spend time with are nearby, so I can see them and interact with them and plot and plan and do stuff with them on a regular basis.
In an infrastructure that's conducive to life and flow, because that is not, you know, like, we live in the same city and we never see one another. And I know I'm a pain in the ass, but you know, this.
She is. I'm
a writer. All writers know it takes a lot of freaking time to write, and I'm a pain in the ass. But that's a priority for me as far as looking for what shifts, you know, are coming my way. It's living in a place that's like healthy, where I'm not, you know, where my nervous system is happy and I can see people and do things and say yes and engage my community with ease, where I find here, you know, it's prohibitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. Like, I would, you know, it's, we spend living in Los Angeles, especially here, we spend most of our time either by ourselves at our house or by ourselves in the car or at our slave job doing something that isn't exactly what we want to be doing. And so I'm ready for a lot less of that and a lot more of being able to spend my productive time with people who I want to spend my time with, and not, you know, we all need alone time, but I don't need my like alone time to be in the car fighting traffic anymore. I don't need like, you know, my alone time to be the same exact time as like my, you know, like rejuvenation time. Like, some of the rejuvenation can happen with other people, right? Like, you know, and that just doesn't happen here. Like, it's really nice to be able to like sit and relax with someone else and read something together or exercise together or whatever, instead of doing all those things solitarily and only getting together for fancy dinners, which I'm not enjoying as much anymore as I used to.
Right.
Right. You know?
And when you say you're not enjoying them, is it like the atmosphere? Is it the food itself? Like,
I think a couple of things are going on. So I think that I'm tired of working in the restaurant industry. And
right.
so, you know, going out to eat is just like an extension of work, even though like I'm being waited on or whatever. I don't like the snooty attitude of the servers. I don't like the people who just want to see and be seen and all that kind of crap. I think that like there's some super cool things happening in restaurants, but there's also some shit that is just like novel for only the sake of being novel, and it is not actually like good or tasty or fun or whatever. It's just like, that's weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's only weird only for the sake of being weird. So that, I think the other thing that's happening for me is I've been doing a lot of intermittent fasting, and like, I'm starting to feel better when I don't eat than when I do eat.
Yeah, that's a huge one for me right now.
Yeah. And so like, so that's weird. Like, I guess it, like, sometimes I'm really hungry and I want to eat and I enjoy it. Right. You know, so, but I'm so programmed to like, oh, it's the weekend. It's my time for my fancy meal out, my 2 cocktails and my whatever. And like, sometimes I'm just eating this and I'm like, why am I even eating this? Why am I drinking this? Like, it's, sometimes I love it and sometimes I don't. And it's like, I don't like, so something has shifted to where like, I guess I really need to like not necessarily be on that program or that schedule anymore. And just like, when I feel like doing it, go and do it, but not do it just because the weekend. I think like I've reached the end of like feeling rewarded by things. Like, I want the reward to be my everyday life. I don't want to like suffer through things. I don't want to suffer through things that I can't stand anymore for 2 cocktails on Sunday.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that particular program has run out for me as well in such a big way. And it's like accolade, achievement, reward, this, that, like, I'm over it. I want my day-to-day to be wonderful, and that's it.
Yeah, you know, so I'm tired of being like, of all the time in the car. I'm tired of like I used to look forward to like listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos, and now it's just like, I can't even stand it.
Dude, Eric Weinstein was on Joe Rogan. They put out 4 hours, and I was so bored. And like, I forced myself through it. And there was literally no part in that 4 hours where I was like, ooh, you know, I was just going through the motions. And I'm doing that a lot of like, you know, maybe it's similar to you going out to restaurants, like these things that used to excite me and give me pleasure. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of over all of them.
like literally, like I enjoy, like I accept the fact right now that I still have to go to work. And so in some ways I'm actually finding that I don't like it and I need to move on, and it's frustrating to my brain because I'm stuck. But like for some reason that is a little bit easier for me to accept than this thing where I keep trying to do things that I used to like and I don't like them anymore and I don't know what else to do. But like really, so I go to work and I understand and accept that for now, like that is what it is. I'm trying to move forward with some of my other professional stuff and trying to, you know, like the standard way of doing things that most people do them doesn't work for me. So I'm always having to sort of navigate my own path, you know, blaze my own trail through it. And so I'm doing that. And then the other thing is just, you know, like I guess I like my exercise. Like I don't not want to do that for the most part, but everything else is just like, oh, I still have to do that. Like, you know, and even things that I used to like really like, and I don't even think that it's that I don't like them anymore. It's just like something serious has shifted here, and I don't. You know what it really is I don't like this. I don't want to have anything to do with this box anymore.
I think the Matrix has reached, I do think it's like an extreme allergy to the Matrix. And that's such a big Matrix program, the like chasing the carrots to deserve the pleasure and the reward. That's such a primary Matrix construct that I think it's interesting the timing that we're both going through this at the same time. And those things aren't working. Like I just did I just fasted for 18 days and it was the easiest fast I've ever done. Like I missed nothing. I wanted nothing. I only ate because Dr. K told me to eat, but it was nice to take all of that reward off the table entirely and to not even have to go through the motions of it.
I feel like that. Like I feel like some days I feel like I could be happy just with sparkling water. You know what I mean? Like enjoy like the first few sips of a freshly opened bottle of sparkling water, and then I'm just like, everything else is whatever. Yeah, no, like I don't like, and even with the exercise, like it's fine. I enjoy it, right? But I think more than anything, and I don't mean this like in the kind of vain way that I used to. Like it's kind of trippy to watch like my body changing a lot, right? So like I'm enjoying that experience, and it isn't even about like trying to be perfect or having some great body for something. No, it's just really interesting to me how like, oh, if you do this, then this happens, right? Like if you do exactly.
Well, yeah, because you can see the change. It's like it's palpable, it's real, and that's so interesting to like watch ourselves transform versus like waiting or feeling or is it working?
Right, and for so many years, I did all of these things that were like very difficult to do to try and manipulate and control my body, and they didn't really work. And then when you like sort of by accident or just coincidence or because your mind is ready for something, step into something that actually works, and then it's like it works so good that you're just like, what is going? It's kind of weird. It's like when you're a kid and you discover that pushing the button makes the elevator come. Right? Or flushing the toilet. You ever seen that video where the cat flushes the toilet and hops up on the toilet and watches the water go down over and over and over again?
I missed that one.
Okay, so it was like when they first started having videos on the internet, like when Google Video first came out, somebody showed me this. And it was like a couple, like their water bill got really high and they couldn't fucking figure out what was going on. Like $1,000 water bill all of a sudden every month. They were trying to, so they set up cameras in their whole house to see if somebody was coming in and stealing water or whatever. And what it was is as soon as they left, the cat would hop up on the toilet, flush the toilet, watch the water go down the thing, do it again the whole time they were gone. Right? The whole time they were gone. And so like, that's kind of, I'm in kind of that fascination right now with almost everything. Like, oh, if I do this, this will happen. And it has nothing to do like with the computer, the technology, or anything like that. Like our body is the coolest technology, right? It really is. Yeah. So that's been interesting. But the other thing is, and this is where I think I've gotten to the point where I know that I'm really sick of this thing, is when I meditate now, all I see is a screen. Everything I see in my meditation is on a screen. And I have been not
freak you out.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know if it's
is that
like,
being put there. That's weird.
Well, I know that like I've had that before, both with like the harassment and the surveillance and stuff like that, and also with some of the remote viewing. Like I've had the thing where like okay, so I close my eyes and I'm actually watching the person who's watching me through a screen. Like I see them, right? This is different. This is just like I close my eyes and there's a box there. It's there right now. Like if I turn, you know what I mean? And it's not surprising that it happens right when you've been looking at the computer, right? But like,
well, when you're meditating and you're seeing that, like, is there feeling associated with seeing that in your meditation?
I mean, like not so much.
Do you still drop into like some sort of bliss space in your meditation with the screen?
No. Yeah. I mean, it's not, okay, so I want to say it's not the only thing I ever see in my meditation, but it's showing up, it used to show up occasionally, and now it like shows up all the time a lot, right? So it's like, and I have been on the computer much less in the last several months than I ever have been. So I don't know if it's my higher self trying to say like the technology is the problem, stay away from it, and it's just showing me that. I don't know if this is intrusion. I don't know if this is...
Does it feel ominous?
No. It feels neutral, but it's there. Like, and you're like, it would make sense to me if I meditated at night and I had been on the computer some during the day, but we're talking 5 o'clock in the morning when I haven't opened my computer or looked at it.
Well, I mean, it resonated the first thing you said, that like the screen's the problem and your higher self is showing you that. Yeah. And we all know that. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we're not watching the screens are watching us. And then maybe, you know, like, I like, you know, we're not watching television is watching us. Right? Like that kind of thing. So I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's a message from my highest self to just stay focused on the things that are really in front of me and not the things that present themselves to me on the form of a screen, or I don't know. Like,
do you think there's a message in the shapes that have been showing up on your body?
Oh, they're square too. Yeah.
Do you feel a similarity?
I hadn't thought about that, but that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, I hadn't even thought about that. Good connection there. Yeah, so I've been having a lot of interesting geometry show up on my body. That is what she's talking about.
And I am also having interesting geometry show up on my body.
Yeah.
I had a question. You had mentioned before some sort of like energetic thing we share of a relationship to space-time, structure, geometry, something. Uh-huh. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I say a lot of things about that, so I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. If you can give me a little more.
Have I told you about how my grasp on space, which has never been great, is gone so wonky? Mm-mm. I thought to ask you, just given that you had mentioned this spatial thing, mm-hmm. and knowing that I do have a unique relationship to structure from like a more macro, multidimensional space, but like navigating 3D space-time is very, I don't even want to say challenging for me. It's just like absurd. Mm-hmm. So it had started with, like a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when Venus went into retrograde, I could no longer, I would turn the light switches the wrong way. And I would get stuck of like, and same with jars, like this will not open, and I was turning it the wrong way. That was really consistent. Mm-hmm. And then like getting lost, and then getting lost in like absurd places where I shouldn't be getting lost.
Like,
and then
like that kind of feeling when you're in New York and you come out of the subway station on the opposite side of the street than you normally do, and you're like, oh, this is weird. It looks exactly like the place I normally go, but backwards, like that kind of feeling?
More so because there's no initial reference point to compare it to say I've got it backwards. It's literally like consistently untethered to this reality construct, so just consistently befuddled, like always lost, not I thought it was this, like I've never been to this place that I've been 1,000 times before ever. But then when I went to
hold on a second. Hey, I'm doing a recording with Dani. Can I call you back in just a little bit? All right, go ahead.
Also, your sound's going like in and out. Like sometimes it's soft and sometimes it's loud.
Huh.
I thought I was imagining it, but I don't think I am now.
Okay. Put the earphones in and see if that makes it better. I hate the earphones, but I will do it to make it better. The computer might be mad because I'm saying not nice things about it.
Well, it's not personal. That does sound much better.
Okay, cool.
So then the most recent one was when I drove up to Santa Cruz to visit my friends and their new baby. I went into the gas station bathroom. Granted, I was a little distracted because I was on a call. I was on headphones. I came out of the stall. I washed my hands. I go to open the door, and it's bolted shut. And I'm like pulling really hard. And I said to my friend, like, I'm going to have to call you back. And I'm like pulling it as hard as I can. And I'm banging on it. And I'm screaming like, help, 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 let me out. And like minutes later, at least 90 seconds later, 3 people come in the door behind me. I was trying to get into the storage. I was totally sober. There was no.
Oh, okay. So
and then like a million more like that. But it's becoming very consistent, this like extreme inability to manage space-time.
So like a disorientation. So I had something like that happen to me on the airplane when I was traveling 2 weeks ago. It happened both on the way there and on the way back, where like I was kept trying to push when I was supposed to pull, or pull when I was supposed to push, or something like that, right? Like, which doesn't usually happen to me. I'm usually pretty coordinated and can figure that stuff out pretty well.
Right.
And whatever. What you were saying just made me think about, like only because you prefaced it by talking about space. Like, so when Andrew Bashago talks about going up to the College of the Siskiyous, where he was part of the, time program and whatever, and he talks about stopping in this place in Northern California, this gas station, and his father going into the gas station and coming out 15 minutes later with 3 days worth of beard grown. Like, it's making me think of that, right? I don't know why. Right? Like, literally, like, his dad went into the gas station and came back, like, like, first dad, like, yeah.
Did your dad have a story about the portal he went through and what he endured?
I don't remember. This is a long time ago, so I don't remember all the exact details about it. But this was when he was on his way up to, do some of the stuff he was doing with some of the like time selection program and all this kind of stuff and whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what is happening. Like, I hear you and I feel some of what you're talking about. I'm not convinced that I'm in the same reality every day. Right. And so it would be entirely possible that, yeah, like in that time that you were in the bathroom, you experienced a timeline shift and, like.
I don't know that it's a timeline shift. It feels like, and it's similar, like, I don't want to personalize. It's like, I can't tell what's going on. It's some like larger macro shift happening with the species, like, it's so bizarre right now. Is this just my own personal experience? Is this like not enough calcium or just something like that? It does, like, a lot of the time it feels like I'm less and less in this dimensional construct. Yeah. And I'm less attached to it and I'm less interested in it. It doesn't have the same pull. It just feels like I'm elsewhereing a lot of the time. Yeah. Yep.
That's whether it be actual elsewhereing or just elsewhereing in your head or whatever. Like, I'm perfectly content to like lay on my back and watch what goes on the back of my eyes for hours on end. And I have no idea if I'm remote viewing something, if I am like looking at looking at some kind of ancient biological spiritual technology, or if I'm just watching my own synapses in my brain fire. I have no idea.
Right. But it's so freaking fascinating and crazy, right? Like,
and also, does it matter? Are those things all the same thing? Is it entirely possible that ancient spiritual technology are the synapses firing in your brain?
I think 100% it is. 100%, which I've realized is a really fun thing to say that a lot of people are saying right now. Like, I've noticed it.
100%.
No, there's no 100%. It has this like upward flow to it. And but yes, absolutely, it is ancient creation technology, and our dumb little third-dimensional monkey brains are never going to put it all together in this lifetime. Like, it's not.
Well, you speak for your own dumb little monkey brain. This dumb little monkey brain is a persistent little fuck. So
great. Go for it. Keep going for it. Cancel Claire, I in no way mean to limit you.
I'm kidding.
My monkey brain is likely not going to work that out this go round.
Yeah, I don't know. So,
it's just so many levels and layers of data and information. I want you to figure it out and break it down for me.
what happens to me lately is I'll have a moment of figuring something out, and then like a half an hour later, I can't remember it.
Same. And it's like some
massive. Like I just figured out how architecture is related to sound and all this kind of stuff, and right, like this and that. Oh my God, it's the secret of the universe. I now understand everything Ayn Rand was talking about. 30 minutes later, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking about? Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I'm gonna turn the lights on. It's getting dark here. Hold on a second. So
is my lighting situation okay?
Yeah, you're good. Well, you have like that light right next to your computer there, and I just have like not much going on here. So yeah. So
go ahead.
So what are we gonna do?
Well, one thing that I'm kind of bringing this up just because I could use some support on this. You said like the screens have no pull, which is awesome. And the screens have less pull for me. And I'm also writing. So I'm looking at a screen 1,000,000 times a day. And I'm noticing that since I signed up for Amazon Prime, it opened up the consumption portal in such a crazy way. And I'm really like noticing that is like an insidious virus. And then I'd had this thought months ago of like, we really need to boycott Amazon. But again, like I don't, even just saying that and like tapping into that matrix construct, it just like pulls all the energy out of me. Like, fuck it, I don't care.
Okay, so I'm going to draw a connection here between the thing. Okay, so this is how this works. Humans
444,
have this,
by the way.
Huh?
It's 444. It's a sacred moment.
Yeah,
I just want to acknowledge.
The door, right? There we go. We're opening the door to our portal, the portal of consumption or the portal to our pocket universe.
Pocket
for sure. Okay, so the thing with Amazon is once you realize that like just by like one application, pushing buttons in one place, you can make stuff come to your house, right?
It's magical,
right? So this goes back to the thing we were just talking about a little bit ago with me, like pushing the button of my body and going, ooh, look. So like the Amazon and the screen is trying to get us to enjoy pushing those buttons where there's a middleman to make things happen. There is no middleman between me doing something to my body and it changing. Right? But in order for me to make something come to my house, I have to push the Amazon button.
Well, and it's not just middleman, it's also isolation. Like all the stores that I'm not going to and those humans that I used to engage and the small businesses that I used to support because it's just so much easier.
So we're supposed to have that interaction of interacting with people, right? Like, but we're also supposed to be able to make things happen ourselves.
Right.
And this is replacing both of them. This is the singularity, right? So like you can get stuff you want, right? And you don't have to deal with other people. And you're feeling like you're manifesting something. It's like, ooh, I want that. And now it's coming.
And I get it.
Right? Which is different than, manifesting something yourself through your work and seeing it happen, or from going and having a positive interaction with somebody else and something coming of that.
Right.
So we have this weird technological cyborgification of manifestation.
Well, and plus it's not even like, it doesn't even start, a lot of the times it doesn't start from an organic, authentic place. It's like them telling me that I need something and me believing them. So it's like an assault. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, I need shoelaces, so I'm going to go out to the shoelace store and purchase them. It's like they're invading my consciousness saying, hey, you need shoelaces.
How are they doing that?
The advertisements, the email of the 25 things that'll change your life on Amazon.
I'm like strangely not responsive to that stuff. Like when people started complaining about being bothered by like the ads that would pop up on Google or Facebook, I was like, oh, I just don't look at them.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, like I'm not actually that susceptible to those things, but just in general, I mean, they exist, so they must be working on some people, but that consumption like demon, I know that Amazon is a portal to that because I wasn't operating that way before I joined Prime. and something shifted
I
drastically.
keep resisting Prime, and maybe that's why. Like, even though
Totally resist. And
even though it makes more financial sense to do it, like there's something in me that is just like, nah.
Yeah, no, stick with no.
Yeah.
Stick with no. It's yucky. It's super yucky.
The other thing I wanted to talk about that is so weird, like, remember this time last year how like cryptocurrency was a big conversation, and now like weeks will go by without me hearing the term Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I don't even know where that conversation is.
Right? Like, I don't like it's, I mean, there's still like, you'll see, like if you go like there was a period of time where every video on my feed had said something about cryptocurrencies, right?
Oh yeah, that
and
conversation.
now it's like, oh, like once or twice a week I'll see something about something, right? Like, you know, like
where's Cliff on crypto? Is he still like
he's not doing crypto reports right now? Like, it's hard to tell with Cliff because, you know, he'll do stuff he has some issues with some of his server. I don't know. He talks about it like a very small amount now, but he was also absent for a long time because he had some health issues, and you know, I'm not quite sure. At some point I'll reach out and chat with him and whatever, but like I'm not quite sure. A lot of the people that Jeff and I were following because they had interesting perceptions on Bitcoin, people like Andrew DeSantis, like they've kind of gone silent and quiet. And so like Jeff is of the opinion that, you know, the system is completely co-opted right now. And so the best thing to do is just like basically hold. I mean, he's not giving any advice, but like he doesn't, like there's not any good answer as to what to do. Like, until like, you know, like the banks have bought themselves time by sort of taking, if I'm understanding right, taking stuff over. So kind of like, yeah, you just kind of sit with this for a while. The things will decouple eventually again, you know, but it's just weird how like literally that was like the thing that like was just the massive conversation at this time last year.
Oh, it was huge. It was deafening.
I mean, and remember, like you were struggling, and I was even starting to think like, you were struggling with like, okay, I have friends making a ton of money on doing this, and they're trying to convince me that I should sign up for this group that gets you money every day on this and that.
I wasn't struggling. It just grossed me out. I couldn't. It was just like a no. It was
right,
such a
but like but
like the envy of watching
yes,
making a lot of money. Yes.
Yeah, that's what, you know, and you were thinking about doing it, and then every time you tried, you'd be like, no. And I was just like, I don't actually even have the 10 or 15 minutes a day to dedicate to that. You know what I mean? So, so it was that for me. And like, you know, like, and it is one of those weird things because like, you know, like there is really almost no way to like try and grow your money or get ahead because there's no savings or interest or anything like that. And now crypto markets seem to be not doing anything and whatever. Everything is just.
I mean, that's kind of, it just, I'm not coming from an expert point of view here, but it just feels like that's a dead conversation.
It is totally dead. That's my point.
It's more like, where are we planting our food? And like, where's our water source? Like, these are resources that make sense to me right now.
Right.
Like, percentage on return feels, it just feels inappropriate. It's like tripping on
right?
girl or something.
Isn't it funny how just 1 year, like it's a totally different thing. Like none of that stuff, like a lot of the things that like were important conversation to me a year ago, it's like I don't even remember. It's like, okay. Like, I mean, I remember.
And look how many important conversations have slipped in between in the past year.
Right.
It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I also feel like it would be remiss to not just mention it. But I am curious, like, as far as the direct weapon situation, that just
directed energy weapons, yeah,
is that, where is the mainstream in that conversation? Like, what's responsible with that? Because this was my thought today of like, I really don't want to talk about that because it's such a bummer and it's awful. But then it's also like that old journalist thing of like, shouldn't people know what is happening?
I think this is one of those conversations that is like, it is so far over most people's head. Like, so there's a couple that comes into my restaurant that I really like, an older couple, right? And he's like in his mid 80s and he's just like, he's like a Trump guy, right? And then she's in like the health aspect of all of our conversations. You know what I mean? But like the conspiracy stuff sort of freaks her out when I talk about it, right? But she's sort of intrigued. They love coming and hearing my stories. They come for my entertainment and whatever, right? They come every Wednesday night to my restaurant. But we were talking about the fires and I told her about directed energy weapons. And then she literally looked at me like I was crazy and that I had to be making this up. And what on earth are you talking about? And I was like, look it up. Look up DEWs, look up directed energy weapons. And she, like, so I went off and waited on, took care of some of the people and came back to the table. She's like, you're right. There's like this whole world of stuff that I've never heard of. And I think it sounds very Star Wars, right? It sounds so futuristic that's what they're banking on, is that like people can't even conceive of that.
But I saw Fox News, like straight up primetime news story breaking about the technology. Like that exists. That's mainstream, right?
But
is it that people don't believe that technology exists, or they don't believe that our government would use it against its own populace?
So there's both. I think that like the people on the right don't believe that technology exists. The people on the left believe it exists because they understand science. But they don't believe the government would use it against the people, or if they did believe that, they wish it would use it against the people as long as they use it against the right. Right? So
it's just, I mean, we live in California. I'm not hearing people wondering why there are massive forest fires in November. Like, you're closer to them geographically. Like, have you heard that?
So there are people starting to, like, I have gotten less strange looks this time when I say that, like, the day that the fires broke out, it was like really, really windy near my work, right? So it was really weird. Like, I left my house. So the shooting was the night before, and there was all sorts of like that was, if that wasn't a simulation ejection, then, whatever, like that one. Have you seen that video where they're like, this is disturbing video from inside the nightclub of hundreds of people getting shot at. And the video, literally, there's nobody inside. Literally, there's not a single person on the dance floor. And they're like, this is a really disturbing video. People are dying. And there's like nobody there, right? Like that was totally like a simulation ejaculation, right? Like, it's just like, what is going on here? Okay, and of course, it was like the Marine shoots up the borderline bar as the military moves towards the border to deal with the migrant, right? It just doesn't, it's like completely coding in the Matrix. So that was the night before. And then the next day I'm driving to work and I'm starting to see that there's like fires all around, but I'm getting closer to where they are. And like, it's like weird because there's fire and smoke everywhere, but I don't smell anything. Right. And then I get over to work and suddenly, all of a sudden, it's like super duper windy. But I was like, this doesn't feel like real wind. This feels like fake wind. Like, that when you go into like a store that has one of those circular doors and like the suction and it like pushes when you go through.
Yeah.
Like that. Right. And so that night at work, it was super dead because there was a lot of traffic because of the stuff related to the shooting, because all that stuff was right near my work, and the fires. And then it was like really windy, and all of a sudden the power goes out, right? Just on our strip of the block, the power goes out, and so we're completely blacked out, and I'm going outside to pull the tables in, and the wind is like going so hard, like our glass door is flying back and forth. It almost hits me, but like I wasn't scared at all. I just literally like stepped over to the side and moved, and then it broke, right? Like it was almost like it was waiting for me to step aside for it to do its thing, right? Like it just, none of this felt real to me. And I was talking about this to a couple of people. When I said about the wind feeling fake, nobody argued with me. So I do think there's a level of people starting to say, like, wait a second, how can it possibly be that, like, what are the odds that Wednesday night there'll be a shooting in this area, and then the very next day there's this like massive fires and massive windstorm and power outage all in the same place? Like, to me, that's like the Matrix fritzing out in that area, right? Like there's something funky's going on, something's coded to happen there, and all little shit's happening, nothing's, something.
And that also, just to drop in, because before we started recording and you were talking about the fires starting where they did and blah, 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 but given that they're directed energy, like, and that it's not an act of nature, but an act of agenda, like, doesn't that make sense? Like, doesn't that confirm?
Yes.
Bizarre, like, that's like Occam's razor. Like, that's more obvious.
These fires are always happening near like companies that people think are making like airplanes and rocket ships, but they're not. They're actually experimenting with, free energy, which is the same thing that powers a directed energy weapon. So you have to wonder, You know what I mean? Like, I mean, people need to start to, like listen to Pee Wee Herman. It's like, connect the dots, la, la, la. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty much like that, like it's not hard, but people have this, I don't know what it is, but people like are much more comfortable with this idea that things just happen than that there's any rhyme or reason to anything.
Well, because I think if people, it's like I'll see people who will go as far as they'll go down their progressive rabbit hole, and then they'll stop at like the larger agenda, or they'll stop at conspiracy. Like they can't take it beyond that, because then that would require taking agency and taking authority over our culture and our planet, and like you can't unknow what you know and saying this isn't okay. And that's kind of like, I guess this is why I'm bringing it up, because there's like the moral ethical dilemma of like, yes, my preference right now and my authentic draw is to get out of the matrix construct entirely, and I think it's really fucked up that like the larger governing body is attacking its own people. And I think that like there should be, and I don't like the word should, a larger conversation about what's actually going on, because we're all in harm's way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that we're also to this place where we're really not in Oz anymore, and we're crossing over into this space where it isn't even so much the government anymore, it's corporations. We have a corporatized military agenda going on here.
Right.
Where the government is only
who is like who just set California on fire?
Like weapons kinds, like Boeing, Rocketdyne, Raytheon, these kinds of things. PG&E.
And why?
Agenda.
Right, but what's like, I've heard, so one thing that I've heard, I don't know shit, because my first thought was like, well, why would they go after their own? Why would they go after the ruling elite in Malibu? And then I heard that they were only putting out the fires at I'm gonna mess. It was like either the Republican houses or the Democrat house. I can't even track that ridiculous divide anymore. But like, why are they going after Malibu?
I don't know if it's that they're going after. There's a lot of things under the ground in all the areas where there have been fires that they're. So the conversation should really be about: are they trying to clear the land so they can make more of that structure, or have they been caught and found out so they need to clear those structures out? And so is this a cover-up operation, or is this an expansion operation? That's the conversation that needs to be had.
Well, and also, is there something this just popped in my mind, is there something on the flip side that like, is there a new corporate interest because now California's fires are out of control, so Bayer's going to introduce this new anti-tree virus that's going to, do you know what I'm saying? Like, right. Is that,
I think that might be like more of the situation, like when you see something like this, like in Central California, like right. I think when you're looking at these areas in Northern and Southern California that we're talking about, like, we're talking about energy, and we're talking about like things that are quote unquote secret space program kind of infrastructure. And like secret space program can be perceived in a lot of different ways, but no matter how you perceive it, it has to do with energy, weapons, technology, things like that. It has to do with free energy and the inversion of that.
And so what is there? Like what facility is where they were?
So like, in Malibu, it's like fairly well known that there's like a large base underneath Malibu. Some people refer to it as an alien base. Some people, the alien part of the conversation is not my wheelhouse, right? But there's definitely stuff. I mean, anytime you have an area where there was once a Native American population, there's generally interest by weapons companies or NASA or those kinds of agencies, because I do think that to the extent space exists, the portals to it exist within the Earth, not by going up and out. It's by going down and in. And I think that you also, space is accessed through water. So I think that, so that's in Malibu. Then you have the Woolsey Fire and Santa Susana Pass. That's over in Chatsworth and Simi Valley. That's where Rocketdyne is. That's where Boeing is. I'm 100% sure they're not building airplanes in the hills of Chatsworth. So what else are these companies doing? What's under the ground there? Are these things I didn't realize until this fire so over where Woolsey is in Chatsworth, mm-hmm. You have to go around and go like on the 118 to the 23 to get over to to Thousand Oaks, or you have to go up DeSoto to the 101. But if you were actually just to keep going along the canyon, it would actually leave you right off over in Thousand Oaks by my work. So it does connect. Woolsey Canyon basically connects Chatsworth over to Oak Park in Thousand Oaks, right?
Okay.
So which then across the other side of the freeway gives you like Agora and right to Malibu. So I would say that it's entirely likely that there's a whole other connected underground system there, whether the whole thing is hollowed out and it's continuous, or whether there's, you know, like an underground train that connects these things or something like that. I think that there are segments of an underground city, an underground civilization, bases. I don't know exactly what the makeup or control of it is. I've viewed some of it, right, in spots here and there. But I'm not 100% sure, you know, what it looks like underneath. Like I'm starting to have an understanding of like what is covering it on top. You know, but I think there's multiple agendas. The thing I know about the powers that shouldn't be is that they never do anything for just one reason. They have to have at least three. There's not at least three reasons it's not worth doing. The only reason that is ever just one is cover your ass. So if there's only one reason, it's because something just got found out that they could not have figured out. And so cover your ass. But if it's not cover your ass, then it's three reasons. You know what I mean? Like if you even look at like, so one of the most famous sort of think tanks or controlling groups is the Trilateral Commission, right? And that idea sort of comes from, you know, doing everything on three levels for three reasons in three different ways, right? Idea of like,
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so it's much harder to triangulate or to figure out what is actually happening or why it's happening or who's causing it or whatever.
So do you have a sense of what is coming down the pipeline? Are they prepping for something? Is this tied into Musk's tunnels? And
I mean, on a certain level, sure, I think it is. I think that like, so Cliff did say something interesting in the last thing I heard, is that he was kind of reinterpreting an old data report of his where he was talking about that there would be like, people would be unhappy about something that was happening and there would therefore be a lot of riots or energy against it.
Okay.
And then when he saw this happen this week, it would be about something having been exposed and people being unhappy with it. Well, he sort of reinterpreted that data to have to do with this, that this may be the catalyzing event where people start to go, wait a second, what is this? And then there starts to be a lot of energy thrown against it, not in the form of like rioting or protesting in the streets, but in terms of like people's mental energy being like almost like a mental protest against something, right?
So does that mean in terms of like the narrative that's being fed about the fires being wild?
I think ultimately they went too far with this one. There's, you know, like they've done major fires here in both Southern and Northern California at the same time 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it's the same time. It's just crazy.
And remember last year it was up at Getty because they needed to clear that base out. And now they're clearing the base out over in Malibu and over in Chatsworth. Right? That's where these bases are. And so, and the thing going on up in Northern California, if you look, you know, you can find all of the information in like PG&E's papers about wanting to clear that area. Well, why do the fires only happen in the areas that PG&E wants to clear of the population anyway? Why doesn't it happen where there's no people? Why does it only happen where they want to clear it?
So you think that's going to be exposed?
And why do their buildings never get damaged, but everyone else's shit gets damaged?
Right. So was that what Cliff was pointing to? This was going to...
He was speaking, I think, more about down here. He was talking about people are, okay, so like, he was talking about things like, okay, because they never talk about the Boeing base. They only talk about Rocketdyne, right? And the story about Rocketdyne is that it's been leaking radioactive material, and now that it's on fire, there's all this radioactive ash, and that's going to cause people to do things to mitigate that, and that's going to lead them to products like C60, and then they're going to start asking questions about what's really good. You know what I mean? Like, so he connects a lot of things that, like, I understand what he's doing. He wasn't giving like a clear answer, but he was starting to reinterpret and thinking maybe he had thought that this sort of pushback, this sort of anger was going to be in the streets about shortage of money or food, when maybe it's really going to be people going, wait a second, like what exactly is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. So I'd have to go back and listen. I was listening very casually. I wasn't paying very close attention.
Have you noticed anyone in the mainstream putting together the oddness that these fires happen 2 years in a row in Northern Cal and Southern Cal at the same time that they're burning weird? Like, is that
I notice sometimes, like I hear like middle-aged women talking about it, like women between the ages of like 40 and 60, who are
Right.
just like, like I think from an intuitive space saying like, this is weird.
But I feel like those are the ones who are doing, like, that's everyone in the Gene Keys, you know? It's like middle-aged women are like on it, like.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's also usually middle-aged women who maybe have some time at home to look at stuff. They're not just only listening to the radio in the car on the way to work. Maybe they're on the computer. Maybe they follow Aaron from Health Nut News who talks, you know what I mean? Or maybe they follow natural. Maybe it's something a little bit. Like, I don't know. Are we going to be the breakaway civilization in terms of, are we just going to have this situation where like, okay, like you have one set of people that believe the Matrix story, so they will live in the Matrix, and the rest of us will go off and create.
That's my choice right now. Like,
the
that's
little pocket
really
universes. Like, I think that's
really
just
my
it.
choice.
Yeah. So all of that said, maybe we need to change the show from Words with Dani to Pocket Universe and just start creating it here on the.
I would love for anyone paying attention who has Pocket Universe building ideas to reach out and share.
Yeah, and maybe at some point, I mean, even if it's just here, we need to start taking some of this to like live get-togethers, so we're not just supporting the box here.
I think that's part of what's like, that's what I got when you talked about the screen in your meditation, is like, yes, I do think those of us creating the pockets are wise to do it in analog.
Yeah. So I think, like we'd like to hear from people on either Dani's Facebook page or my Facebook page. How many of you are in Southern California? We can start there.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have like a get together once in a while or whatever, and be able to just spend some face-to-face time. And then people in other places maybe can start, connecting with us and doing stuff where they are and sort of see what happens. But, so this show will be morphing and evolving, and it may not be, so we're probably leaving behind some of the, original topic of the show, but it'll go where it goes. Maybe it'll circle back to that at some point. Maybe it won't. Maybe we'll, who knows? But this is an evolution here, and for right now, it's Pocket Universe, I guess.
Awesome.
Right. Awesome. All right, guys. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. We'd love to hear back from you just on, this was super casual, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the things we talked about. And you can find Dani at danikatz.com for coaching and language workshop, quantum language coaching and just lifestyle and goal. What kind of coaching are you doing these days?
I call it transformational coaching. I do quantum languaging, consulting, and coaching as well, but transformational is like the umbrella.
Yep. And so you can find me at offplanetradio.com, or you can go to my Facebook page, Emily Moyer. If you want health, wellness, lifestyle consultations, if you want to integrate your bizarre experiences or just talk about weird stuff, you can find me there. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Bye.